And welcome into the program. This is Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional, Tim Stearns, CFP, president, founder of TJ Stearns, Inc. Tim, always a pleasure to have you here on the program with us.
Peter, thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure. And Tim, today going to be talking about one of the most important tools that we have to build toward retirement, but what is not specifically a retirement tool, and that is our 401k. Great for accumulation, not so good for retirement.
That's a way to open a show. I mean, everyone out there loves their 401ks and the matches, all that stuff. But you're right, it is kind of limited in its form. I just met with a couple the other day that their 401ks are at three companies ago. So they both are, working on their fourth job since they were with that. They're in their early 50s and their old 401ks are over there and they don't know what they're doing, what they're not doing. And I told them, I mean, even if we don't do business together, make sure you put them in an IRA that you can be in charge of. And, they understood that once I kind of explained, to your point, what the limits are.
It's kind of a tool that is designed to be out of sight, out of mind, and then we sort of forget to do the routine maintenance on it that we need to, that it requires in order for those dollars to do the most for us possible. So we'll be talking about the 401k today, and specifically as we are entering into the fourth quarter of the year here, how to handle and manage your 401k as you are rounding home and in the home stretch of your working career. If you're in the last 5 to 10 years of that working career, are there things that you need to be doing differently with your 401k? Could you make better use of the opportunities that you have available? And of course, if you've got any questions about that, you are always welcome to call Tim Stearns, CFP, and get the guidance and help and assistance of an experienced, qualified professional, ladies and gentlemen. He's our resource here on the program, but Chicagoland savers and investors, your resource as well. So give a call if you've got any questions about your 401k or any financial, retirement, investment related questions. That's what Tim is here for, your resource. 800-640-2256 is the number to call. 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. So Tim, let's discuss the 401k, one of the most common retirement savings tools in America. It is a powerful accumulation tool, and it is good for accumulation. Why is this such a good tool for accumulation specifically?
Well, it's usually a forced savings. So you have people using it for that reason. And, their checks are taken out every 2 weeks. They're taking money out, putting it in there. And then, obviously you hope that the company is also matching, and that's automatic as well. And it's the power of compounding that happens just because it's out of sight, out of mind, as you said. And, it's an automatic savings. The employer match is excellent. But again, it's not really designed for retirement income.
The dollar cost averaging, the match, all wonderful things, but the 401k, as you mentioned, not designed for retirement income. It's not a pension. The pension was designed for retirement income. That gave us a benefit at the end. They were called defined benefit plans. The end income was defined. 401ks are not defined benefits. There's no guarantee at the end of the rainbow of what that balance is going to grow and accumulate to be.
Right. I have a woman who called in from on our show here 2 weeks ago, and she had 98% of her money in her 401k in stocks, and she didn't even realize it. So there's not a lot of hand holding going on. It's just, I hope that I do all right. I remember one other example is my uncle started a job when he was 19 and it forced retirement at 70, and it was still set up that way. And so he had, all these small cap mutual funds that I've never heard of, from the 1980s. The idea here is that you should be keeping an eye on a 401k too, and making sure that you understand its limitations and no other options.
And the 401k was never designed to be a retirement plan. It is an accumulation vehicle. And
I agree.
Differentiate there for us, Tim. What is the difference here that we need to understand?
Well, a retirement vehicle is going to be something that's going to give you income in retirement, and hopefully a guaranteed source of income, some of it at least. They don't have that as of today. They do not have annuities and that type of thing within 401ks, but they are talking about adding that. On the flip side, you have it as an accumulation tool. Most people don't ever touch it while they're at a company. They're not taking out loans, hopefully, and next thing you know, you get a nice little nest egg there, and it builds quickly, hopefully, for you. But at the end of the day, if you're going to need it for income, you need to figure out a different vehicle.
Well, it's got plenty of advantages with
Yep.
the contributions that we can make to it, the access to the market, the potential for the match. But like almost every financial vehicle where there are benefits, there are also disadvantages. So, market risk, taxation, no lifetime income guarantees, limited choices and options. And we're going to talk about those on today's program and why we may need to consider them more carefully and really evaluate as we get closer to retirement. And again, we're talking with Tim Stearns, CFP, ladies and gentlemen, your resource for planning. And TJ Stearns Inc. is the home of the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint. If you would like to get your blueprint put together that maps out all 5 of the critical pillars for sound financial and retirement stability, the foundation of your planning is income, investments, taxes, healthcare, legacy, and the blueprint addresses all of those. So if you'd like to get yours put together, pick up the phone and give a call, 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. So again, benefits and disadvantages. Talking about the pros first, Tim. The 401k offers us the opportunity for much higher contributions. If we need to make a lot of progress to get to retirement, which we all do because retirement is expensive and it's long and it's in the future, so it's more expensive than today, we need to be saving more. And the 401k allows us to save more.
Right. And you look at the IRS is trying to move that up and index it for inflation and that type of thing. They are concerned, the government in some fashion of us not having enough money for retirement. So they're doing catch-up provisions after the age of 50. For example, right now it's over $7,500 that you can do a catch-up. So that puts for someone over the age of 50, $31,000 that you could be using. So it's important to take advantage of that, especially when you're working. There's higher limits than your IRA options. So it's a great accumulation tool during your working years.
And Tim, by earning the paycheck, it gives us the income and the ability to make those investments and make those contributions and dollar cost average. And hopefully there's a match on the table from the company. But again, it is about accumulation, not preservation, not safety, not
Mhm.
creating income. So while the contribution limits are higher, and we appreciate that, much higher than that of the IRA or the Roth IRA, I think only
Yep.
7,000 is available there, and if you're over 50, maybe 8,000. But 31,000 is substantially more money, which again we need. But once we get to retirement, things change a great deal.
Well, and remember, Peter, the 31,000 is on your side. The company can add up in money too. So, I mean, you have a great vehicle there that can really accumulate a lot of money. But when you're doing accumulation and then in your later years doing the distribution, it offers its a whole new type of challenges.
Um, as we look at creating income, as we look at turning the corner, Tim, the same forces that worked in our favor, the volatility of the market and the regular recurring automatic contributions that we were making, that is what dollar cost averaging is. But if we begin to make withdrawals, those same forces now compound and work against us potentially.
Right. So as you said, you have automatic contributions, so your dollar cost averaging at all times. But you also, when you take withdrawals, then you run into a whole new problem, and that is sequence of returns risk, which most people in the United States don't have a clue what that is. When we do our retirement classes, I'd say 9 out of 10 people have no idea what that is. They might have heard of it, that 10th person, but they don't understand it. So basically, it's taking money out in your earlier years when the market is down, your earlier years of being in retirement, that is. So that, sequence of returns risk is a huge factor that can obviously screw up your retirement. We show 2 examples of We named them brother and sister, Bill and Jill, and the one runs out of money and the other one doesn't. And all they did was one retired into a bull market. Not her fault that she ran out of money, but that's something that happens. So we make sure that we show people the example of that.
Well, no problem, Tim. I'll just retire into a time when I know the next several years are going to be up years in the market.
Right. And to that point, you and I have talked about this. The market, usually sets resets about every 7 years into a bear market, and we've had about good 15 years of, excellent returns. So I would be wary of people that are thinking about retiring, today. I mean, unless you have a plan.
And if you have a plan, Tim,
Mhm.
oftentimes rolling money out of and taking control of 401k assets is going to be a part of that plan, correct?
Absolutely. And you're going to roll it out into something hopefully that's going to throw off an income for you that you can go about your business and not have to worry about paying your bills.
And there are several reasons for that. Number one, Tim, the assets in the 401k are going to continue to be subject to market risk. And
Yep.
again, the growth of the market is what makes it a good accumulation vehicle, but the risk of the market is what makes it a poor retirement plan.
Right. So if you have withdrawals when there is a downturn in the market, it can be a faster depletion. Most plans don't adjust for retirement realities that are out there. And, obviously your risk tolerance should decrease as retirement nears, but, some people are still taking a lot of risk. I told the story last week about the gentleman that came in here who had 80% of their investments at the age of 70 in the stock market, when the market's at its all-time high.
Um, Tim, taxes are another thing that during our working career, the 401k can work to our advantage. And
Right.
then during retirement, unfortunately, we find out that it can begin to work against us if we've set things up a certain way.
Right. The contributions are tax deferred. They're not tax free because when they build the accumulation phase, when we take the money out, it's going to be more in taxes. But at the end of the day, that you're hopefully saving on taxes as you put money in there. But like we said, the withdrawals will be fully taxable as income. That includes the principal that you put in there plus the growth that it had.
So we get to save taxes up front, but we owe them later,
Right.
generally in retirement when we don't have the income. We've got to pay taxes out of our retirement balance. So we look at the balance in the 401k. I've got $1 million balance. We actually don't have quite that balance that we think because we have not paid the taxes and we're going to have to pay them out of that account.
Right. And we've talked about this that, taxes are at their lowest they've been since 1983. So anyone who's still working, just an aside here, I would tell you to max out your Roth 401ks and if you are able to do a Roth IRA, do those now. But again, when you go to withdraw money, it's going to be taxed if you're using it on the one side where it's just a plain vanilla 401k.
So, Tim, do we need to plan and incorporate that tax implication as part of our retirement plan? Is that part of the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint?
Yes. When we ask someone, if they want what they think they need to live on rather, we're going to ask them, do you mean is that a gross number? Is that a net number? And many people have said, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, is this after tax money or, where are we taking this from? And do you have to pay taxes still on it? And some people don't understand that, they still have to pay taxes on this huge, uh, you know, asset that they have that, to your point earlier, is not all their money. The IRS has a default plan there for you, and you need to make yourself weary of the fact that, if you don't plan for taxes in there, you might not have as much money as you think you're going to have.
And again, the lack of guaranteed income, Tim, is a factor we need to consider carefully. In fact, the 401k for the purpose of withdrawals has very little flexibility, mandatory withholdings and potential penalties before 59 and a half. Of course, the penalties go away after 59 and a half, but it is not a vehicle that is not designed for even the ability to make a withdrawal an easy task.
Peter, to your point, it's not a very good vehicle for setting up income. I mean, there's mandatory 20% withholding when you take money out of a 401k, versus if you put it over in an IRA, you can dictate, what has to be taken out for taxes. And in Illinois, one nice thing we still have is that you're not taxed on, IRA or 401k, but, federally, they're going to still withhold 20%. So it's not really an income product.
However, when we look at the number one fear of retirees, Tim, running out of money in retirement, there's nothing in the 401k in and of itself that protects against longevity.
No, if that account goes to zero, that is all the money that is in there. Versus if you had moved some of it into an annuity with a long lifetime income for you and your spouse, it would continue until neither of you are breathing anymore.
Pensions used to offer that protection. And it used to be said that your home was your biggest asset. And now, Tim, many people's 401ks dwarf the size of the value of their home.
Right.
And yet, still, even though we have done a better job of saving and accumulating and amassing wealth inside of these 401k vehicles, the question remains, do I have enough if I live a long time to make it? Will I run out of money?
Well, that's where a plan would come into helping you do that. The protect and grow plan that we would do for someone is we make sure that we figure in some guaranteed income in there so that they can, live a more free life and know that their bills are being paid regardless of what the market's doing.
Uh, Very limited choices and options inside of the 401k as
Yeah.
well, Tim. Do you find that people are handcuffed to options that may not be the best suited for them when the money is inside of a 401k?
Well, the target date funds is what most people are using. And yeah, they're handcuffed to whatever the provider is, Vanguard, Fidelity, it doesn't matter, Empower. But at the end of the day, those are your choices. That is the menu, and you cannot go outside of that. And that's really frustrating for many people.
Is this kind of like putting things on cruise control or autopilot and going in the back and taking a nap?
Yeah, that's about right. And here's the scary part. We just talked about this in our retirement class on Thursday. The Vanguard 2015 fund was down about 14% in 2022. So think about that. I was retired in theory for 7 years, and my money is in this fund, and I lost 14% of it. How do I get that back? From the market, hopefully bouncing back, which it did, thankfully. But at the end of the day, that's not what we signed up for. You need to make sure that that money can stretch.
But there is a set menu of investments. So it's difficult to do that inside of the plan, usually
Right.
limited to, Tim, those target date funds, those life cycle funds,
Right.
mutual funds, which lack flexibility for control and income planning and diversification.
Right. Here's the good news about all that, that if you are over the age of 59 and a half, you can actually do an in-service distribution. And what does that mean? Well, you can actually take money out of your current 401k and put it into an IRA of your choosing. Your deferral will continue. The match that you get from the company will continue. But the lion's share of your money can be moved into an IRA that could have stop losses. It could be put in an income product. It can expand your choices throughout all the world of different investments.
So do we need to be paying attention around age 59, 59 and a half, Tim, to our 401ks and the options that we have there?
If you aren't our clients, we do all the time. If someone's coming up on 59 and a half, we're going to make sure we get their money out of harm's way. And I would hope the listeners out there would think the same thing. I mean, rolling monies into an IRA without any penalty, there are no taxes, and now you have a little say in what you have a say in what your future is going to look like because you can get your money protected. It can go into an income type bearing vehicle. There's a lot of great things you can do.
What if I plan to continue working though, Tim, until 65 or 67? Would I
It
still
doesn't
consider that
matter.
in service?
Yeah, so the deferral will continue and the matches continue. But here's the best part is that you can usually in most plans go back into the account when it gets to five or $10,000 after we've taken out the money into the IRA and go and do it again. So that your money every time it hits a certain threshold is being moved into an IRA.
So if I had a $500,000 balance, take control of it, roll it over, more choices, more options, more control, and then I can still make a contribution with my next paycheck to that same old 401k. It's just we've restarted the balance over there and done something else more appropriate for retirement with the bulk of the rest of our money.
That is correct. And I think that makes all the difference in the world to make you sleep better at night,
If
that
there's a
you,
big market downturn, Tim, that seems like it would be very valuable. If my $500,000 balance goes through a 20% market correction, now I've lost $100,000. But if it's only my next contribution, only the call it 500 that I put in from that paycheck, I would have only lost $100.
we've had many people call us and go, thank God you got me out at the right time. And we moved our money into something safer. We had a woman wait and she lost over $300,000 in 1 month about 3 years ago. And I mean, that's what happens when you fool around with your retirement money.
Well, when we have the opportunity to take control of our financial destiny and our outcome, we certainly should do that. And that age 59 and a half, one of those important milestones, ladies and gentlemen, to do that in-service distribution. Give Tim Stearns, CFP, TJ Stearns, Inc. a call. You want to make sure to cross all the T's, dot all the I's, do it correctly so that there are no taxes, there are no penalties, and that you do get set up and established with that account, your life savings in the right way. But you want to make sure to work with an experienced, qualified professional on that. That's why Tim Stearns, CFP, first will put together that plan for you, the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, and then help you to align the funds correctly, align the accounts and the dollars to make sure that you are achieving your goals, your long-term vision with diversified strategies. Give a call. 800-640-2256. The number 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. That in-service distribution at 59 and a half or after, if you've already missed it, past that age, you have not missed it rather. And it is a critical opportunity to help build that retirement foundation. Tim, if we've got an older 401k left behind, you started off the program talking about your couple that their 401ks were still sitting from 3 jobs
Yes.
ago. That's another opportunity there, not to be overlooked and missed. Those dollars are not getting the attention that they deserve.
Well, yes, and their menus are limited, like we just talked about. But the other thing I've noticed is that we have a airline pilot who works with their union pretty closely, and he figured out that a major provider of for their 401k was charging them almost 3% a year to have their money with them. And he put it to me like this. I knew that it was more than the expense ratios that they're showing because anytime I call, there's someone manning our phones at that company. So they don't work for free.
They are not nonprofits.
Exactly. So this all makes sense now. And he was very heated about it. And we moved his money into an IRA with us that now has stop losses. We put some of the money in an income vehicle, and now he's actually has a plan to retire.
No, 401k fees and expenses, Tim, are notoriously hard to determine and decipher and track, which leads me to believe that there's more there than meets the eye. But a lot of people are under the impression that the company is doing this out of the goodness of their heart, and that the financial institution is taking on that liability at no charge. That obviously could not be the case.
Right. And that's exactly what this pilot got down to brass tacks with the HR department at their airline and figured out what the fees were truly. And there are ways to do that. But back to what we're talking about here is if you can get your money out of an old 401k or your 59 and a half in your current 401k, we will help you get it done right and make sure that you're not paying taxes on it and that you have your money in safe hands.
Well, the 401k is a powerful tool for saving and investing and accumulating, but it is not a retirement plan. It is an accumulation vehicle not designed to provide for guaranteed income or tax efficiency or lifetime income. The risks of the market, taxation, longevity, all are going to be factors that you need to address, and options do become more pronounced in retirement, that you do need to look outside of the 401k and to take your dollars outside of the 401k. The good news is that you don't have to leave your future to chance with the strategies that Tim Stearns, CFP, and the team from TJ Stearns Inc. put into place for you and along with you. That is the Protect and Grow Written Retirement Blueprint. You can structure your retirement plan and evaluate all the options that you have available. So if you'd like to learn what it takes to retire, specifically generate income, pay less in taxes, address market risk, and healthcare risks, as well as longevity, put back in place that guaranteed income that it was traditionally the foundation for a retirement of confidence and stability. Pick up the phone, give a call. They do offer that service to put together your blueprint for you, specific, individual, personalized, no cost, no obligation. It is a courtesy service. 800-640-2256. Once again is the number. That is 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. You can also visit online, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. Tim, I know this is a big area. You're helping a lot of people better understand the options, both inside of the 401k and then what to do with the money after.
Peter, I love doing it because most people don't realize what they can do and how much powerful their IRAs and their 401ks can be if they do these things.
And Tim, we get very little guidance on it as well. Like the company says, just make sure the lines add up to 100%. And that's supposed to be the best advice for our retirement.
Right. Or you can call in and talk to somebody who usually doesn't really know what's going on after you've been on hold for 20 minutes. So if you're frustrated with that, we're happy to help people get their money out.
And you help people, individual people, not just account numbers.
Of course not. Of course, we are making sure that it's not cookie cutter. Everyone needs their own plan. And I've noticed that a lot of these people don't handhold at all, and they have no idea what's going on in their 401ks.
And that's why it's the blueprint, ladies and gentlemen, created and customized just for you. If you'd like to get that Protect and Grow Written Retirement Blueprint, again, give a call. 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256, or can go online, tjstearns.com. Tim, always appreciate the time. Thank you for being here as the resource.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Tune into Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stearns' full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.